All right. I am so excited to introduce Marie Fiebach. Weekend dinner success for busy families. Yes, please. And I love that you stated this. If recipes were the answer, no one would find getting dinner on the table to be a struggle. And isn't that an interesting start here? Okay. Hi, Marie.
Hello, Lindsay. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Happy Friday.
Yes. Oh, isn't it great? I'm ready for a weekend.
It is. I am too. I'm always ready for the weekend. So I think it would help our listeners as we go into this topic to really understand what phase and season of life you're in at the moment.
Sure, sure. I am a married mother of four teenagers. So I have a 19-year-old son who is a freshman in college going to a JUCO, which is a really good fit for him. And then I have a 16-year-old daughter and I have 14-year-old twin daughters as well. So I have lived through a lot of motherhood. I've gone through all the toddlers, all of the school age stuff, and I now have teenagers and am learning how to parent young adults as well. So I've got a little bit of motherhood under my belt.
You do. And as we're going to talk busy and family dinners, I think you just brought everyone in to go, okay, I'm ready to listen to what you have to say because you've owned it. You've been there, girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. And so what brought your interest into like how and why is this passion for you?
Well, I had my twins were playing competitive soccer many years ago, and I was sitting on the sideline talking to all of these moms. And if you have kids in competitive sports, it's almost always at dinner time. And so we were at practice and we were at games, and the moms would say, hey, we're going to hit the drive-through, go home, eat dinner, get the homework done, get the kids in the bath, and get them to bed. And I was doing all of that except for hitting the drive-through. And they were asking me why. At the
Mm,
same time, my contract job that I had was ending. The contract was ending, and I was looking at what my next step would be. And I took an entrepreneurship class, and the leader of the entrepreneurship class said, go with what people are asking you about and with what you know. And I had weeknight family dinners. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I had a system that was working. And I started to reverse engineer the things I was doing naturally so that I could teach it to other busy families. Because when you are running from work and after school activities and trying to get people, you feel like you're fitting your whole life in between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. And dinner is a big challenge for so many families that I'm here to help them get kind of control of that, figure out how dinner's going to work in their home. And also, I really believe that it's not a one size fits all solution
mm.
because every family's different. And so people that just like give you meal plans and that type of stuff, it doesn't work for most people because you're having to make so many adjustments. And so I'm about figuring out a system that works for you and your home. And I teach busy parents the tools to make that happen.
Oh, and it's so needed. And I feel like every guest coming on saying this, and I'm loving my guests, is the individual experience. It's an individual journey. It's individual, individual. It is individual. Like if
Yes.
we could actually settle into that thought that it really does need to fit me, my family, and not, I always say this, keep your eyes on your own paper. And it doesn't matter if it's working for somebody else, if it's not working for you. So I cannot wait to hear all of your tips on this. And before we get into that, what was your motivation? Was it health related, why you cared about getting the dinner on the table? Or like what's your background with that?
We've walked a lot of journeys with food in my house. We've had to try and diagnose some food allergies. We've had to deal with some challenging conditions in my home. So I have felt that. But my motivation is more than just health. It's about stability and connection and creating stronger families because that family dinner table can be a place of stability and connection, or it can be a complete place of chaos. And I feel like if you can get that connection and that stability for your children working, the other pieces are easier to manage.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I totally agree. Every time I question, should we just hit the couch tonight or should we sit down at the table? My husband and I always comment on this. We're like, I'm so glad we went to the table tonight. Something came out, some conversation happened where we go, we needed that, or they needed that. They needed that release time and just, Yes, I love what you're fighting for. It is more, but health happens to be this glorious side benefit of it.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing is the statistics are clear. Families that eat at home eat more vegetables, they eat healthier, and the outcomes for their children go beyond the food health outcomes. There is less anxiety, there is less teenage pregnancy, there is less um, suicide, like all of these things, like the stats have been studied and they are clear, is that regular family meals create better outcomes in your children. And I mean, that's what we're all fighting to have our children have the best lives possible, right? And if regular family meals is something that can help with that, then I'm all in.
Right. And that's that knowledge is power part, the powerful part, because if somebody can self-talk that, exactly what you just said, like if you had that motivation to go, what I might be preventing an eating disorder down the road, I might be preventing anxiety down the road, then all of a sudden the importance chunks up on that priority list. But if you don't have that knowledge behind it, it's too easy to be like, it doesn't matter. We're going through the drive-through tonight, sleep, or tonight is, and it can be selfish reasons too, like we want to go watch a show and it's okay, but it just can't be every night.
Yeah, and I think there's a balance in all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
there are times where I'm not going to say I'm 100% anti drive-through, but what I teach about the drive-through is that I want you to plan for it. So if
Mm.
you are going to hit the drive-through, an example is, if it's a weekend coming up and you know that Saturday is going to be a gorgeous day and you're going to be outside in the yard, or you're going to be running from soccer game to soccer game, whatever your thing is, it's going to kind of be a busy day. And at the end of the day, you're not going to feel like cooking. Put that takeout or drive through on that day so that you have it to look forward to throughout the week, and then you can make healthier choices at the drive-through too. And I'm telling you that when you're not hitting the drive-through in distress, but you're hitting the drive-through intentionally, you're going to make better choices too.
I totally agree. I love that. I want to make sure I'm going to grab all your beautiful tips and knowledge here. One of the things that I was reading about you is that you really like to separate meal prep from the actual, like, putting the meal
Cooking.
together.
Mhm.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, here's the thing is we are all busy. And when I talk with the people in my audience, there are two big challenges that come up for getting dinner on the table. The biggest one is time, and the second biggest one is picky eaters. And we can talk about picky eaters in a little bit, but let me talk about time, because very few of us can sit down and cook a meal start to finish in an hour to an hour and 15 minutes on a weeknight. It's just not a reality. So I teach my viewers and my listeners to separate cook time from prep time. And I call cook when you're adding heat, and prep is everything else. And you can prep a lot so that when you are cooking, it only takes you 10 to 15 minutes. And then there's other things where maybe it's a long, slow cook time. So you're home in the afternoon and you can throw something in the slow cooker or throw something in the oven. One of my favorite things to do is to make roast chickens, and I will get them all prepped the night before. I'll put them in the oven before I run the kids to practice wherever they're going. And in an hour and a half, we come back and they're ready to go. So and when you start thinking about cook time and prep time separately, you're going to get a wider variety of foods that may take longer or shorter cook times, but it's going to be less stressful on you because you're not having to do it all in one chunk, and you can fit it into the pockets of our lives.
Mm.
And I know it's hard. We all just want a big block of time. Oh, that like a big block of open time is like the most luxurious thing in the world to me.
Right.
But with 4 kids, I am trying to fit most of my life into pockets. And when I can get my cooking and my meal prep and my meal preparation all into these pockets of time, I'm going to feel more like a super mom. I'm going to feel more in control. And my kids are going to notice it because their mom is not frantic and cranky, and she's calmer and has this. So when the other things that come into life that make you frantic and cranky, you have more bandwidth to react to them.
Yes. Okay. You're talking our language with pockets of time, because I don't care if we're talking food prep, if we're talking movement, if we're talking grocery, like all of it, we do have to find pockets of time. Give us your real examples of when those pockets are happening for you.
Okay, so for me, if you have younger kids, those pockets of time are probably happening after the kids are going to bed. So you put the kids to bed and you clean up the dinner dishes, and your cutting board's already out so you can get things prepped for the next day. You can get meat salted, you can get veggies prepped. All when I'm doing dinner dishes, that was a really good time. Now that my kids are older, after getting breakfast started, as I'm fixing breakfast or cleaning up, that kind of often becomes a time that can work. And those are the two big ones. But if you're someone who like works from home, you can take a 15-minute work break and you can go down to your kitchen and get lots of things ready for dinner. You can get the water in the pot that you're going to boil for the pasta or the rice or the beans or whatever you're cooking. You can get veggies cut, you can get them prepped so that when it's time to fix dinner, all you have to do is turn the heat on everything and put it together.
So interesting. Yes, I agree. Okay, you used a buzzword and I'm going to use it again here, that whole reverse engineer process, because if I'm thinking there's more to this than where we're even going currently. So you'd have to know what dinner you want, which means if we're working backwards, you're finding the time to prep it, to grocery shop for it, to even know what you wanted in the first place. So start even just with how you coach people on the meal planning part of that.
Okay, so I have a full meal planning system, and it starts with a recipe index, but this is not your mama's recipe index. This is a recipe index that is completely customizable to you. So I have pre-labeled sheets that have all of the animal proteins and vegetables and breakfast and all of that. And then I have blank sheets. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can customize it to the type of cuisines. Or if you have, I had a friend that she likes to customize it by Mexican, Italian, Mediterranean. And so she was using the system to, but however you categorize your meals, but you don't actually have to print off reams of paper. You take this index and you write your recipe, you write where it is. So if you find it on the Feed Your Family Tonight website, you write Feed Your Family Tonight website. If it's in your mama's recipe tin, you write recipe tin. If it's, I even have a couple of recipes that are just in my brain, like, 10-minute quick, easy meals that I just know that I can make. I just write my brain there. And on that recipe index, it has how much prep time and how much cook time, which was the first thing we talked about, Lindsey. And so when you go and plan your meals at the beginning of the week, I have a weekly meal planning sheet that is free to anybody, and it has a place to write your schedule, because our schedules dictate what kind of meals we're going to have, so that you know when you're going to eat and how much time you're going to have to actually cook and prep meals that day. Take 10 minutes at the beginning of the week. Open up your recipe index. And if you're going by proteins, you can look, so you can add some variety. Our family would have chicken 7 days a week if I didn't make myself look at other kinds of proteins. and and so I can flip through my beef and my pork and my seafood, and I can look and I can add variety, and I can go according to the amount of time. So like today, I'm having something that takes about 15 minutes to cook on the stove at night. But a couple of days ago, I had something that took an hour and a half in the oven, because I looked at my time during the day, I looked at my schedule, and then I looked at my recipe index and said, what fits into this? And then you write your grocery list, and you can do it online. You can do grocery pickup, you can do grocery delivery, you can go to the grocery store, but you're saving money because you are not buying foods you don't need. You are saving yourself eons of time. But more importantly, you are giving yourself brain space. Because when you take all of those decisions and put them into 10 minutes at the beginning of the week, my kids will ask me what's for dinner, and I'll be like, go check my Instagram, because I post them on Mondays at Instagram. I have my system set up so much that if I can't go down to my kitchen and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes, I have done prep before, so that I know that if I can't get it done in 30 minutes, then I have written on my prep the day before or earlier in the day that I need to do something so I'm successful at night. I hope that
Yes.
wasn't like a fire hose.
No, it's exactly, oh, so good. Talk away, girl. This, I'm thinking ripples as you're talking. And I think the beautiful thing about what's happening, and you can hear it, you posted on Instagram, like part of your success, you're feeding into your business, you're feeding into your family, you're feeding into probably your workout schedule. When this
Uh-huh.
one component falls into place, the planning, all of a sudden your other things release brain space, because you're probably going, well, I can fit in food here, workout here, kids here, like it all chunks into place.
A
Which is
hundred
so
percent,
cool.
Lindsay. And the other thing is, it is so much easier to eat well when you have planned for it and you prepare for it. Our family tries to eat a lot of vegetables. I mean, the amount of produce that I buy, like if you saw my cart, you'd probably, a lot of people would be like freaking out, like thinking I've got rabbits in my house or something. But we eat a boatload of produce and a lot of lean proteins. And those take time and preparation. A lot of those things are not last minute things, but they can be if you think about it ahead and you do just like 5-10 minutes of prep. I do not want to spend my weekend making a bunch of meal things. I know a lot of people like that's what works for them. And if it works for you, be my guest. But I don't want to spend my weekend in the kitchen. And so I'm not talking spending your whole weekend prepping for the next week. I'm talking 5 and 10 minutes in little pockets of time.
I love how you mentioned, even like after you pack lunches, anytime you're in the kitchen and you've already made a little bit of a mess, to utilize that pocket to like dirty another knife, dirty another cutting board, because it's all going to get cleaned up in a second anyways. Yeah.
Yes, so much so. And especially when you're thinking about like proteins and you're worried about cross contamination and stuff, get all your vegetables done first, then pull the protein. Like there is an order of operations that makes your life easier and faster. And if you're cutting up chicken into 1-inch chunks, why not just cut up a little extra chicken for 2 days later, get it salted, put it in your fridge, and then you can throw it on the grill. Like there are so many things that you can do where it's the same step and it takes you 2 minutes more to get yourself set up for the later on in the week. But you can only do that if you planned ahead and you know what you're doing later on in the week.
Right. I feel like you're debunking the whole myth that meal planning means chaos, means time, means, because if you spread out your time how you're stating this, then you're saving yourself so much time. But
Uh-huh.
you're really skilled at it at the moment too. So somebody who's working with you, kind of explain, are you a coach to them? How does this work?
Yeah, I do private coaching, and oftentimes what I'm doing is I am coming in and doing like 1 45-minute session, and we're looking at what are your big pain points, what are your challenges, what are your goals, and then we are making small minuscule tweaks. I'm not going to come in and revamp everything in 45 minutes, but I'm going to give you 2 or 3 big takeaways that will make your life a ton easier. It's small little mindset shifts. And then you work with that for 3 months, 6 months, and maybe then you find there's another little pain point. And then we can come back in and we can say, okay, where are we at? Where do we want to go? And I really believe that this isn't anything that's life shattering. I mean, it's dinner. People have been feeding themselves since the beginning of time. I'm not here to give giant earth shattering things, but the value of a coach, Lindsay, and you would know this, is that having someone else from the outside look at what's happening without the emotional attachment, and they can say, have you considered this? What about this? Could you try this? And those small little differences can change your world.
Yes. And you're not talking about, like, you could be in somebody's physical kitchen, but you're talking virtual as well, correct?
Right. Almost all of what I do is virtual. I do
Okay.
it. I do it online. I do it on Zoom. Um, I can and have gone into people's kitchens, especially if someone's got like a newly diagnosed food allergy and they're having to look at a complete new way of cooking and they have to do it fast because there's a medical reason and they are like, I don't even know where to start. Then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can, and yeah, and I can go into your kitchen and we can say, okay, let's go with what we know. Let's find some things that are some simple substitutions, and then let's find some new ways of thinking. And so if you've got a serious food allergy and you're, in Kansas, I can come into your kitchen, but almost everything I do is online.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like going the light fluffy into this, where I was going to be like, I'll give you my example of where I'd use you. But I love the other side of this coin of a food allergy or something, because you picture these parents who just got this diagnosis for their kid. It's already scary. You're already overwhelmed. And then somebody's telling you that your whole kitchen and your life has to change within your cooking style. Like, to have a coach go, come here, it's okay, we're going to do this together, is
Yeah.
life changing. So
But you know what?
cool.
Don't overlook the light and fluffy stuffs in either, Lindsay, because small little tweaks can make anyone's life better. I mean, and you understand that, is that if if it's important to you at some level, and it's important enough that you want some expert help, then it can be light and fluffy. It may be as simple as you are tired of getting frozen chicken nuggets, but you don't know how to cook chicken nuggets. Or it might be that you are so busy and you get home at 6 o'clock at night and you're like, I really want to eat well, but I can't find those pockets of time, and have someone else kind of walk through and say, okay, what does your family like to eat? Let's get 5 or 6 meals that work, and let's look at where we can make them happen in your home.
Yeah, no, and thank you for pointing that out. I totally agree with you. Again, it's back to individualized journey, and don't compare yourself, because if it
Yeah.
matters in your life and in your home, it matters. Here is one of mine, and just for an example, but I feel like I can have a month or a couple of weeks where it's all flowing and I'm excited about the foods that are coming into my home. And then I think it's a busy thing for me. If life gets too crazy, I can hit where I almost feel like there's nothing new in the grocery store. There's nothing, like all my recipes are boring. I can't figure out something that my whole family wants to eat. So what would our conversation look like back and forth with that?
So our conversation would look like what I talk about. In my podcast, I have a podcast episode 146, which is how to find a recipe that your family will eat. And the key to that is to make small little incremental changes. So when you are bored with the foods that you're having, you don't want to take your family from spaghetti and meatballs to a chickpea curry, like when you're trying to find something new. But you might be able to take your family to a meat-based sauce that has a curry flavor and tomatoes. And so you've changed the flavors, or you change the base ingredients. Or you can do a chickpea spaghetti with the Italian flavors. So you're not changing too many things on your family at once. So when you need inspiration and you're going to your phone, and how many times do we go to our phone and we start scrolling? We can waste a lot of time, and it can be a time suck. But if you're wanting some inspiration, keep your eyes open as you're flipping through magazines, as you're flipping through blogs, for recipes that are adjacent to ones you're already making, but change one thing. Don't change two things on your family at once, because they'll freak out. But you can change one thing, and that's how you start getting inspiration. I give the example that my family 2 years ago would not touch chicken enchiladas with a 10-foot pole. Okay, chicken enchiladas is a pretty basic American kind of food, right? And they wouldn't touch it. So it was a slow, gradual process of changing from beef taco meat to chicken taco meat, which was wetter. So I changed the base protein, and it became a wetter thing. And so that kind of got them from the dry taco to the wet taco. And then I started making a hamburger casserole, and that got them eating the hamburger meat and started getting the texture of a casserole. And then after they got used to that for a while, then I put the chicken into the enchiladas. And that's how I made a gradual change from regular taco meat to a chicken enchilada casserole. And now my kids love it. It's one of their favorite things to eat in the world. But they would not have touched it 2 years ago. And so when you're wanting inspiration, you're wanting to change your family's palate, change one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's fabulous advice. Love that. What about, I'm guilty of this too. Okay, I have sausage sitting in my fridge at the moment. I've got chicken. I've got pork butt for roast. I'm so guilty of picking up the same meat and going to the exact same recipe. So I'm staring at, let's just take sausage, for example. What's your advice on figuring out that new fun something?
Okay, so what are the things that you usually make with the sausage?
Uh, my kids love this. It's called sausage supreme. So it's
Okay.
very casserole-y with it.
Okay. 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 So if they like a sausage that is casserole, what if you found a cornbread chili kind of thing, and you're using the sausage instead? Or you can take that sausage and you can put it with the pasta sauce and go a little bit more Italian, and it's still saucy. You could even put it into a casserole with some pasta and some cheese, and you're still, and you've got that base ingredient. That sausage is the same, but you could go chili Tex-Mex, or you could go Italian flavors, go with flavors that are familiar. And then for me with sausage, I always love myself like a good breakfast casserole. Like that's always, and that works for dinner too. I love a sausage breakfast casserole. Or if you've got like link sausages, I've got the best sheet pan dinner. I use it with like a turkey kielbasa, and I slice it up. The turkey kielbasa is basically pre-cooked, so all you have to do is heat it up and put it with quick cooking vegetables. You don't want to put it with like potatoes and butternut squash because those take longer, but if you put it with peppers and cherry tomatoes and purple onions, you put it on the sheet pan with the sliced kielbasa. At 20 minutes, dinner's done.
Oh my goodness. I'm guessing, do you on your site have a bunch of these types of tips and recipes?
Yes, tons of recipes on my site, and I'm telling you, they are simple, fast, and easy recipes for real families. And on most of my newer recipes, I have the cook time and the prep time, so they're separate, so you can start putting those into your recipe index and start knowing. But that sheet pan meal, to give you an example, I would have the veggies all cut up. I have the sausage all cut up. And honestly, I'd have it on the sheet pan in my refrigerator so that when I walk in the door, I can pull it out, put it in the oven, and 20 minutes later, dinner's ready.
Right. That's so hopeful for our listeners going, I could do that. I could have veggies cut up. And I think it's just consistently getting stimulated, especially if we're in a busy phase of life. We just need little things to creep into our ears or our eyes to go, you got
And,
this. It can
and you
get
want to
fun
go,
and exciting.
you want to go pro level on this, Lindsey? Buy
100%.
them buy them pre-cut at the grocery store. Use the grocery store salad bar. A lot of veggies you can get pre-cut at the grocery store now. And there are seasons of life where you want to just open up the pre-cut bag of broccoli and the pre-cut bag of cauliflower and the pre-cut mushrooms and use the cherry tomatoes. I mean, you can really outsource a lot of this to the grocery store and get things even faster.
Thank you. I like that terminology too. Outsourcing. We always say, fire yourself from the things that you don't have time for or that you're not the best at. So the grocery store can be part of that. We
And
were
the
starting to
salad
say
bar.
salad bar. I know I do forget about that. And especially COVID with salad bar shutting down. It kind of left my brain again, but that's a good one. We were starting to segue into the picky eater thing. And I do want to make sure we talk about this as far as you've already given some great tips on don't change everything all at once. What are some of your other go-to topics around this?
With picky eaters, I try and always have one thing on the plate that I know that they will eat. And depending upon how old they are, if they are younger children, you're going to have to guide them a little more and making sure that they're getting more things to eat than just one thing on the plate. With my teenagers and my picky husband, to be honest with you, if you're going to be picky in my house, you're going to learn to pick. But I will cook a meal to a point and pull out your portion. So if I've got a kid that doesn't like sauce, I will cook their meat and their veggies. I will pull them out and set them on the side before I add the sauce to the meal. And that way you are allowing them to live within their preferences or their challenges, but you're not having to cook 2 meals.
Right. Or 3, not a short order chef thing going on.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. And do you find that you can do that with almost any meal you're putting on the table?
I mean, about 90% of them. Yeah. Especially the way I eat in my home, which is veggies and lean proteins. You can almost always cook those to a point and set those aside before you're adding any kind of sauce or spicy seasonings or that type of thing. And I just find that, especially when you're dealing with picky eaters, getting your meals simpler and the less ingredients that you have, the easier it is to sort out what the picky eater is going to eat. And honestly, it's easier for you too. So that's another thing is family dinner does not have to be real simple, gourmet, perfect, it doesn't have to be Pinterest perfect. It can be a salad and meat and some veggies and maybe some type of a grain or starch or whatever you're going to add to it. It doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to have all those elements all the time. My children are really not good about eating cooked vegetables. And so I learned years ago, we start every family meal with a raw lettuce salad. And because they are much more likely to eat vegetables that are uncooked. So we eat a giant, and no one gets the entree until they have eaten their salad.
Oh,
And
so
so
good.
that way I know they're getting veggies in them. And I don't worry if they don't eat the veggies that I've made, the cooked veggies. If they eat them, great. If they don't, they've gotten veggies in them. And when I write on my meal plan that we're having like grilled chicken, we might be having a salad and grilled chicken and nothing else. It
Mhm.
it is not Pinterest perfect in my home, and I'm a pro.
Yeah, exactly. And you're also giving individuals permission to hit the repeat button, that it's okay if you see salad multiple times in 1 week. Because I think people can get in their own heads that, like, I just did that last night or I just did that last week. And that's not really the case.
And you know what? It's okay to be boring. It really is okay to be boring. Sometimes boring, like when you're working out and stuff, boring is good because you're being consistent. And sometimes we need to freshen things up. And I totally get that when we get really bored. But if you're not bored with the boring, then don't break it. If it's not broke, don't
Exactly.
fix it.
Yeah, and it lays this groundwork that you can like live in that. That's doable, that's attainable. And then when that beautiful pocket of time opens up that you can seek out a new recipe or get a little creative, then great. But that's not your expectation for every week.
Exactly.
Yeah. Talk about like I like bar type things, salad bar, taco bar for picky eaters too, because then I feel like the kid can approach that and pick what they like off of it. Do you have some fun different bar ideas?
My favorite is potato bar because
Mm.
you can have russet potatoes or you can have sweet potatoes. I've got one kid that doesn't like sweet potatoes, one kid that doesn't like russets. And guess what? I can bake them both in the same oven. It works. And my favorite thing for potato bar is cheeseburger baked potatoes, where I take hamburger meat and I mix it with pureed onions. That's another picky eater tip is my kids often don't like the texture. So I always puree my onions and I get all the flavor, but they don't pick out little chunks of onions because it's all just kind of meshes in. Hamburger with onions and salt and pepper, and then you put that on top of a baked potato with a little bit of cheese, pickles, mustard, ketchup, whatever kind of things you would put on a hamburger. And cheeseburger baked potatoes are one of my favorite go-to bar type recipes because you can pick whatever toppings you want to put on top.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay, I know what's coming up next week for us, or maybe this weekend. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
like that.
super easy. And it's so delicious. And and you think about it, it is lean protein. It is you know, simple starch. You've got a little bit of fat with I mean, it's so well balanced and
Right.
it's so satisfying and delicious.
Yeah. Ah, so good. Love that. Talk about bulk cooking too. Do you do anything where you're purposefully making more to freeze off?
Yes. And there's a couple of things. First thing is I love cook once, eat twice, which means
Mm,
it's not a giant bulk cooking thing. You're just making double the batch. So if I make chili, I'll make double the chili and I'll freeze half of it. If I roast a chicken, I'm always roasting 3 chickens because it just takes the same amount of time to prep them. And then I have all of that chicken meat that I put in my freezer. And then I take the chicken bones and I turn it into bone broth. And then one of my like backup meals when like the wheels fall off and I need something fast on the table, I'll pull out my homemade chicken broth. I'll pull out that chicken meat from a roasted chicken and I'll have chicken noodle soup on the table in 20 minutes.
mm,
Um, my other big one is I do taco meat 12 pounds at a time because that's the amount that my largest pot will handle. And that one is kind of a big bulk cooking because it takes me a little bit longer by the time I cook it and then I let it cool down and I get it all bagged up. I got to give myself an extra hour on that night. But then I have like 10 extra meals. I freeze them in meal size portions for my family. And that's a big thing is when you are bulk cooking, you want to freeze it into a meal size portion for your
mm.
family. Some families, that's going to be a little sandwich bag full of meat. My family, it's a quart size bag because I've got a teenage boy. And so You want to freeze it in meal size portions for your family, and then you can just pull it out, and that is a quick and easy meal too. It takes, 15 minutes to defrost in the microwave. I chop up some lettuce and pull out the taco shells, and we've got dinner on the table, fast and easy.
I love the cook once, eat twice.
Mhm.
And the cook and the freezing for your family size, because I've totally been guilty of just freezing it all in a big bag. And then I get in my own head where I'm like, well, if I thaw out the whole bag, then I feel like we need to eat it in the next 2 days because the meat's going to go weird. Like,
Well,
yes.
and as kids get older, like me, I have kids that are kind of coming in and out at different times. Sometimes I freeze single portions too, so that a kid can have a healthier, heartier meal that they can eat at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before they go to practice. And then they come home and have dinner as a snack. If you've got active kids, that's a real common thing. So you can even freeze single portions too.
Right. No, that's good. You're also bringing up this topic, and we're living it right now, of the needing the hearty thing right after school. And then I feel like we're almost eating a second dinner before we go to bed at night. So it's almost like I'm cooking 2 dinners a night
Uh-huh,
right now.
uh-huh.
And I need
Second
to
dinner.
not be not be eating the second dinner is one of my things I have to work on, because I'm actually quite fine with the first dinner, but then we get home and we all sit again and I'm like, I can't keep eating 2 dinners every night. But
Second dinner is a real thing, Lindsay.
yeah.
Oh, I know the second dinner.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a couple of things that you can do. Is when I fix my family's dinner, my husband takes his lunches to work. And so I always make an extra portion. If you've got kids that are in that, make an extra portion, put it in the refrigerator, the freezer, and maybe it's like a mini portion. It's kind of like a half dinner. And then when you come back from your practice and it's 8 o'clock at night and you're kind of eating another half dinner, you can separate that into two, but I wouldn't be cooking twice. I would have one left over from the night before, or cook at 4 and have your second dinner something that's left over from the night before. Whatever works for your busy schedule. You may have more time at 3 in the afternoon to cook than you do when you're running your kid to practice and you're getting back at 8. So that it kind of goes back and forth. But
Yeah.
those are two ways to manage that. But when you've got kids that are super active, they've been at school all day, they often need what I call quote unquote real food, which means they need something that's got some protein, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fat, that's really going to kind of refuel them for the work that they're doing.
Yes, I love that you're mentioning that. They need like real nutrition because they're burning a ton. They're really like, we know that food is fuel, but sports proves that more than anything, that you cannot run off of empty. And I'm telling you, the attitudes that come home if I send them to a sport without enough fuel, I'm like, holy cow, get food in this child now because we are suffering.
And a sugary granola bar's not going to cut it.
No, no. Not that it's not okay, and I know you're saying this too. It's how do we pair foods so that if we get that intense carbohydrate load, we need some protein to balance it out. We need to be thinking in balancers.
Right, because that's not enough energy to get them through. It's going to get that instant, hit which they need because they're hungry after they get home
Right.
from school. But adding something else to it, some type of a protein, a little bit of fat, that's something that I teach my kids, is that they're trying to get a balance of things, because if you don't have the balance, then you're going to get the peaks and valleys, and that is so hard.
It is, and their schedules are the hardest to work around. School too, because they go these like long periods of not eating, where to this point in my life, I'm like, I would hate that schedule. I'm a huge advocate of snacks when we need them, so we don't arrive at the next meal starving, and kids just, they have to work around what they're working around. Speaking of starving, and I know you're going to have a good thought on this too, but don't you find that your kids eat so much better when they're actually hungry?
Yes. And that gets back to what kind of snacks are we providing them, and when we're providing them snacks. And and I I was having this trouble with my daughter just a few weeks ago. She was having practice from 5 to 7 o'clock at night, and again, catching random granola bars. I'm not, I mean, she was. And finally, she's like, "Mom, I need some real food." And so that's when I stopped. And for the next few days, I fixed dinner to have it ready at 4 p.m. And she
Mhm.
ate her dinner, and then the rest of us kind of ate in shifts after that. Usually when my family's eating in shifts, they kind of get a late plate, but she had had her fill, and she wasn't eating a real late plate when she was getting back either. And so I said, we're changing this up, and we're gonna, and so they get home and she was hungry at 4. So I fed her a meal at 4 so that she could be ready. And then she had her snack later. It's kind of like we were just talking about. And yes,
Oh,
building
no.
appetites.
Yeah, like permission that I'm hearing out of you that this whole dinner time or real meal time doesn't have to be when the whole day's done and said, like after school, if that's when it fits in with your family, so be it. And I love the
Yes,
leftover
yes.
idea with that. That's because sometimes, again, if you're a working parent out of the house and you're arriving at home when your kid's arriving at home, then that leftover would be your saving grace.
100%. 100%.
I just want to interject this really fast too while we're talking about it because I love your salad before the dinner even comes out. We do, I normally always have a cut up veggie tray in my fridge and I set that out on the counter because I don't know about your kids, but they're like little circling sharks when it's close to dinner time.
Mhm.
Where I'm like, if you are that hungry that you're going to sit here and complain, like, here's your options. And so you are getting the nutrients in them. And then my next tip with that is always eat if eat the veggie on your tray first because if you head towards the roll first or the meat, if those are your favorite things and you're a little full, you're never going to go back to the vegetable. And I don't want to fight them. The table's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be happy.
Well, and Lindsay, that veggie tray counts as part of the meal. That may be a snack, quote unquote, a snack, but that counts as part of the meal. My friend, she would go and get like the pre-cut ones at like Sam's or Costco, and like you would take to a party, and she just kept that in her refrigerator all week, and she just opened it up, put it on the table when she was fixing dinner, and that counted as their veggie for dinner. And bring it
Oh,
on.
perfect. Yeah. I love that even the thought, why do people think that those veggie trays, fruit trays are only for when we're going over to somebody else's house? It can just be your go-to, like you said, you outsourced it to the grocery store. Check.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
this is fun. We could talk all day, huh? What else are we
Yes,
missing?
I know. No, I mean, we've kind of hit the highlights. You've gotten deep into what I teach and how I help families.
Yes, and you're such a gem in that area that I don't think everybody knows that you exist. So I'm pumped to have this today together.
Oh,
We,
thank you.
yeah, where can our listeners go and find you again? Name off all your places.
Sure. Feedyourfamilytonight.com is my website. And I am on Instagram and Facebook at Feed Your Family Tonight. I've got a real good Facebook group with a lot of fun people there. If you want my free weekly meal planning sheet, which tells you how to look at your schedule and plan your meals around your life and has a place for you to put your prep on the day you need to do it so that you can really start getting that system work in your home, go to feedyourfamilytonight.com/plan. It's a free download there. I'd love to share it with you because really that is where things start. You will set yourself up if you start with planning at the beginning of the week.
Yep, it's the first ripple, right?
Yes, 100%.
Ah, so good. Okay, this is not goodbye. This is just until next time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, and happy Friday, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Lindsay.